As President Denko said, my name is Xavier Colvin. I'm a senior here at Butler. I'm a marketing major in the Lacey School of Business and a sports and recreational studies minor in the College of Education. I was born in Lafayette, Indiana, and raised here in Indianapolis, and I've lived with my mother all my life, so you all can thank her for my manners and my occasional attitudes. Here at Butler, I play linebacker on the football team, so I fully expect everyone to be at the game tomorrow, 1 p.m. kickoff. And I'm an operations intern at the Health and Recreation Complex, also known as the HRC. So I'm consistently busy with all the activities I partake in, and the place I spend most of my time is this beautiful place named Hinkle Fieldhouse. Between practices, games, lifts, and meetings, football is essentially another job. However, Butler Athletics, and specifically the Butler University football team, has changed my life for the better. For those of you who don't know me or my story, I am gay. And I've known this about myself for a while, like many of my counterparts are part of the LGBT community. But it took me a while to come to terms with who I was. And it was about the summer of 2016 when this all began. I told an amazing individual named Carly Dressler about myself, and then one of my better friends, Alex Lozon. And the reactions were completely positive. But even in that, I continued to hold back, simply because I didn't give anyone else around me the benefit of the doubt that they would do the same. And as that football season began and continued, I went to tell more individuals about myself and my sexuality, and it was still positive. So in the spring of 2017, I wanted to tell my coaches, and this was the most nerve-wracking part of all the storytelling, was walking into, as me, a young black man who's also gay, walking into the office of a 50-year-old white man from the suburbs of Chicago, who was an amazing football coach and an amazing man, but my fear came from not knowing his thoughts, feelings, or previous experiences with the LGBT community. And it's no secret that we as male athletes are not the most open-minded individuals, myself included. Coach Voorhees looked at me in my eyes and told me that this didn't change a single thing. And he asked me what I wanted to do next. And honestly, I told him I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to stop there because no one else needed to know, nothing else mattered, was what I told myself in my head. But then I posted a picture with my now ex-partner, and my social media sort of blew up. I had individuals that I am currently in classes with and individuals that I went to high school with who reached out to me for life advice or help. And I did so without asking any questions. For those of you who know me, I offer my hand to need and my hand to help whenever I can. And I began to tell a few more leaders of the football team, individuals who had presented themselves to be captain-esque people. And then the summer went by, and before camp, I told Coach Voorhees that I wanted to step in front of the team, and he asked me if I was sure, and I said yes. Throughout the course of football camp, which is a very long 2.5 weeks, like, it lasts, I can't tell you how long, it's terrible. It's like, we're eating the same food every day, and it's just kind of like, I want to get out of here, but you know, I've grown to love the sport. It's brought me so many things. But throughout the course of camp, we have guest speakers, usually every night, when we have our team meetings over in the pharmacy buildings. These guest speakers include people like BUPD, or people from different departments in Butler Athletics come and talks, compliance, or being the sports information directors. And on nights where those individuals don't come and talk is when we have player panel speeches. And in these is when a couple individuals, the coaches pick, stand up in front of the team, or sit down in front of the team, throughout the night. And they just share their story about what brought them to Butler. Usually this is an individual who's an upperclassman who has some type of rapport with the team. It's never a freshman or a sophomore. It's somebody who is known and has a big impact on the program. And so we're given a script before we sit down in front of the team. And has a couple questions on it just to guide us through the night. And it asks, how did you get to Butler? Who are your biggest influences in your life, and why? What life experiences has Butler and Butler football taught you? And what is your commitment to the team? And it was right after practice, Coach Cheshire handed me the piece of paper, and my heart kind of stopped. And I was like, I'm going today? And he was like, yeah, unless you don't want to. And I was like, I was in that moment, I was kind of like, it was the fork in the road, I had to decide. And I took it. And I was like, no, I'll go, it's fine. And I'm pretty sure I immediately called Carly and was freaking out, and she, like always, calmed me down. And it was the first set of players' panel speeches, so I think that's why I was the most nervous this is the first set of player panel speeches for the year. And I was the last to go of 3 individuals that night. I sat in front of my teammates, I followed the prompt and shared my story about how all I ever wanted was a group of individuals like them to accept me and embrace me for who I was. And a lot of them had confused looks on their face because they didn't know what I was talking about. And I explained to them that I just wanted to be one of the guys. I exhaled, as I did at the beginning of this speech, and I said the words, "I am gay." And I had nightmares about that moment, filled with fights and violence or homophobic slurs being tossed and thrown at me. But the room fell silent, and I continued to tell them about my fight for acceptance, not only within the realm of being a football player, but also the realm of being a black man, also going back home and fighting things there as well. And that my biggest fear was potentially having football taken away from me just because of what someone else thought because of what someone else's opinions about what or who I was. I shed a few tears. I expressed with them that I hope nothing had changed between all of us and that our relationships wouldn't suffer. And I told them thank you for listening. And they gave me a round of applause. And I was very shocked. Not only a round of applause, but I had numerous individuals, freshmen who had known me for 8 days, come up and shake my hand and tell me how proud of me that they were. And I had individuals who I had known for 3 or 4 years at that point express to me that, they always got my back, and that nothing would change. And even still now, I'm still kind of shocked because I still get people that ask me, like, do you really have positive experiences with that? And I'm like, surprisingly so, yes. Like I said earlier, especially football players, we're not open-minded at all. We're see ball, get ball. And so with that, it was just kind of, it's a pleasant surprise, but it's something that I'm very grateful and appreciative for. Then, a few days after that, Outsports, which is a media outlet for the LGBT community, released an article about my coming out. It's a pretty big deal to a lot of people, and myself included. And after that, there was numerous retweets and favorites on social media. It really blew up. I had to turn my phone off. It died very instantly. And a light bulb switched off into my head as to what my purpose was while I still was an NCAA athlete and while I still had a platform, and that is to share my positive experiences of being an out athlete while touching on the struggles and how the support system I have, including my mother and my nana, who are both here tonight, my close friends, my boyfriend, coaches, teammates, and Dr. Ross, who I admire very dearly, who has been a complete role model to me ever since he has stepped foot on this campus. He's a walking, talking, and vision of how I see myself later in life. And they all had a major role in uplifting me into the man that is standing in front of you currently. And in the past year, my platform has continued to grow. 2018 has brought me a plethora of opportunities to share my story with many people. This past summer, I was invited to speak at an LGBT inclusion summit that was held by the NFL's own Minnesota Vikings, the first of its kind. In November, I am going to Provo, Utah, to speak at BYU with the NCAA as they continue to push their Common Ground initiative that gives faith-based institutions and individuals a guideline to interactions and learnings about the LGBT community. And this spring, chances are that I'll also be speaking at the Diversity and Inclusion Summit held by the NCAA in Atlanta, Georgia. And I've accepted all these opportunities with the quickness because in the back of my head, I try to be the individual that teenage Xavier needed, and I think he'd be very proud. And I will continue to share my story as long as it is impactful to someone, somewhere. And compounding with that, I was asked about a week ago whether or not I was tired of telling my story. And that was the first time someone had asked me that, and I was kind of shook by it. And my answer was no, like very quickly, like no, I'm not tired at all, because the work, quote unquote, that I'm doing is very minimal. Of individuals of the likes of Harriet Tubman or Bayard Rustin or Martin Luther King Jr. or Harvey Milk, all activists of their own, whether it be for the Black community or the LGBT community, if they would have got tired of telling their story or doing the work that they would be doing, I'm not sure if I would be standing in front of you today. And I'll finish with this. Perspective changes everything. And what I view as bold is very different as the person next to me. Many of you who have now heard my story would call me bold for coming out as a gay man to a group of football players at a university where the vast majority of my peers do not look like me, in a state that has made laws against those who wed like me, in a country within a world who has been oppressing to anyone who is remotely like me. You'd call that bold. To me, trying to be someone I wasn't, and pretending to be what I thought others wanted to see out of me was exhausting and depressing. From my perspective, my mother having a child in college and giving me everything that I could have ever wanted or needed in life was bold, and I love you, Mommy. I have been grateful to be provided with a support system that has allowed me to be myself from day one. You can call it bold or courageous, but I'm just thankful. And lastly, the people who have met me through Butler University have known me for 1,500 days or less, which is less than 20% of my life that I've lived thus far, and they've done so with open arms. They've supported my dreams, they've supported my goals, and they've supported where I want to go. And that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is as bold as it gets. Thank you for listening, and go Dogs.